The problem we addressed was farmer access to productive farmland as a result of rapid growth and soaring land prices and the consequential effects of stormwater runoff. What we found out through this process is that there is a high demand for land, and the soaring land prices is making it almost impossible for farms to expand and in some cases keep the land that they're currently on, whether it's absentee landowners or farmland owners who aren't actively farming. And what we found is that rent payments are not making a difference when you have a multi-million-dollar asset that people who are not actively farming want to get rid of. Some of the solutions and strategies that we came up with were, first of all, we want to arm the people who are willing to make a difference. Through some of our advisory committee meetings, we found out that not everybody wants to change and they don't see the problem that exists for farmers right now. So the first thing we'll do is put more tools in the toolbox for the farmers who are willing to make a difference. Trying to do some better mapping for identifying areas that growth is likely to go and areas that need to be preserved more critically. We also looked at the flood mapping because that's changing rapidly so that we know where the flooding is happening and where it's going to get worse if we don't make any changes. Throughout the process, we looked at some different strategies on maybe more funding for permanent conservation easements, having buffers between land uses, a lot of different strategies, but again, most of them focused on arming the people who are willing to make a difference. And if farmers can do things on their farm, whether it's water impoundment in current ponds or having buffers or doing better strategies to control water and keep farmers profitable, that's what we're going to try to do. Our big idea was having a funded enhanced voluntary ag district program that'll help give some liquidity to farmers who are trying to stay on the farm right now. We've got a multi-million-dollar asset that is basically illiquid. They need some way that they can have some money that's coming off of that besides just rent money or just what the commodity prices are doing right now. And what we're finding in the community is that people are very supportive of keeping the farmland because they know that it is a valuable part of the environmental infrastructure in their community.
North Carolina agriculture has a lot of strengths. We have some of the best farmers in the world and a globally recognized ag tech ecosystem. Yet there's a major disconnect between innovators and farmers. Ag tech is innovating without ag. And so that's exactly what we were assigned to do, to think about how do we align technology suppliers, i.e. innovators, and technology demanders, i.e. farmers, to ensure that farmers have access to technology that actually meets their needs.
And the root cause of this is the disconnect between the two. And largely, innovators are developing solutions to problems they think exist, but they don't get into the hands of farmers until late in the development cycle.
So to help address this disconnect, we came up with 4 different strategies. The first are these specialized ag tech agents. And so if we could have 3 to 5 extension agent positions across the state that were these ag tech and innovation experts to help farmers understand what technologies and innovations are available and how to incorporate those technologies on their farms.
The second idea is an education program, a hackathon of sorts, to help bring together problems directly with the innovators so they better understand what problems to solve.
The third idea are to leverage our research stations as innovation hubs. And so we are blessed in the state to have 18 different research stations. If we could take 1 or 2 of those stations and turn those into innovation hubs where we bring together farmers, academic researchers, and industry innovators all in one place to literally kick the tires of new technologies.
And the final idea is a farmer engaged accelerator, where innovators are directly connected with farmers in the development process of their innovation.
So we think if we can do these 4 things, we can really bridge this gap between innovators and farmers. You'll notice there wasn't a single solution, and that's because there's not a single silver bullet, but multiple complementary solutions coming together and working together will allow us to address this problem.
And the whole idea is to shorten the adoption curve. Many times farmers want to adopt a technology right away. Our goal is, instead of taking many years, maybe let's shorten that to just a few years. And the whole idea is that all farmers then are quickly accessing innovation to solve their problems.
So we think if we can do these things, North Carolina can become a premier ag tech innovation hub that doesn't just meet the needs of a few farmers, but ensures farmers of all shapes and sizes have access to technology solutions that will make them more productive, but even more importantly, more profitable.
Our group examined existing farmer support systems and how those programs and services might be strengthened to better meet the needs of farmers today and into the future. We focused our efforts on cooperative extension. Just like the footings built directly onto the ground to provide stability for a building's foundation, ag extension is the starting point on which most all other ag support systems are built. But to be most effective, extension must be level and in alignment with customer needs.
Our recommendations include a revision of the extension staffing model to ensure that the placement of staff aligns with the needs of the farmers and residents of each county. For example, a county with a strong presence of beef production should have a livestock agent available to support the needs of those farmers.
Cooperative extension at our land-grant universities support our state's largest industry, agriculture. Lawmakers should be well informed about the important work done by extension and how that work is funded. We are also recommending a periodic statutory review of cooperative extension so that North Carolina State University, North Carolina A&T, and their county partners can directly communicate with lawmakers to advocate for their needs.
Finally, we are recommending that the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at North Carolina State University and the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences at North Carolina A&T be elevated to a Vice Chancellor position to ensure that our state's most important industry remains a priority at our land-grant universities.
We stand ready to assist our university partners in advancing these recommendations.
So our group addressed the issue of having a business value mindset prevalent on the farm and at the forefront of everything that you think about in every decision. The root cause of looking at that issue is that most people are in a multi-generational situation, and the farm has always been something that we look at of we feed the world and we clothe the world. And we think we are not facing a lot of the same issues that other businesses in society all around the world face. But farming is no different than any other business. You have to have profitability in mind for every decision that you make. And we all realize that we are price takers, and there's the weather and so many uncontrollable things that we face as farmers on the farm. However, at the end of the day, it's still a business and we have to run it as such. So we have to face that we have business value mindset in all the decisions that we make, the small decisions and the large decisions. So one of the things that we looked at for recommendations was how can we get that mindset at the forefront of every person, whether they're just starting out in the family business or whether they've been doing it for generations and near retirement and more mature into the business. And that is bringing it actually to the farm, to them, not pulling them away. And we have this little device called a telephone that's with us all the time. So we looked at putting videos together for finance, economics, planning, all those things that we think through. How can we get that in somebody's hand and do an actual library so they can watch it on their schedule and never have to leave the farm? And we can accomplish that by our recommendation of doing NC Farm Talk.
North Carolina agriculture is facing a serious workforce challenge. Our working group set out to answer what must we do to build and sustain a reliable talent pipeline, one that meets both on-farm and off-farm workforce needs across our state. Two challenges that we listed out. First is chronic misalignment between the agriculture employers, what they actually need, and what workforce programs currently offer. The second challenge was fragmented and underpowered approach to navigating complex labor regulations, namely the H-2A visa program here in North Carolina. Our group also came up with two solutions. The first is to launch a statewide ag-focused talent pipeline management initiative. Secondly, to establish a centralized ag labor policy advocacy body to unite the industry's voice, coordinate legal strategy, and defend against federal overreach. Our group's priority for phase 3, what we recommended is to move forward with the TPM, the Talent Pipeline Management program, as the most immediate and actionable solution. This would allow us to use employer data and leadership to close the gaps, while also working with educators to right-size the programs. Finally, with both of these, it allows us to build a permanent coordination infrastructure to drive ongoing alignment for the North Carolina agricultural workforce. At the end of the day, what we want to do is build a workforce system that is responsive, reliable, and rooted in agriculture employer demand to keep North Carolina agriculture strong, competitive, and future ready.
From NC Ag Leads Phase 1, Brian and I were tasked with the problem of streamlining market access in North Carolina. Due to North Carolina's varying production geographies and just the sheer number of commodities that are grown in the state, there's an opportunity to understand what are the spaces for increasing value back to the growers through value-added market processing and accessing new markets.
And one of the things as we began to talk to the farmers and all the folks that support them, from the Department of Ag, Cooperative Extension, and other groups, was that while North Carolina Ag is so diverse and so interconnected, one of the challenges is there's very limited connectivity. And as we work through the challenges of labor and input costs, whether it's feed or fertilizer, we realize that not everybody could be a low-cost producer. And while people were striving to do that, because that's what they'd always done, we realized that they needed the data to be able to make advances, whether it's in the commodity they're growing now or a different one. And to make that family generational going forward, they needed to have the information it's already there, that we just have to build across the value chain to let everyone from the farmers to the value-added processors all the way to the consumers be able to work with so that we can be effective.
The 4 areas that Brian and I keyed in on to present to the steering committee first was titled North Carolina Ag Data Fusion. The second was North Carolina Co-op Revival. The third was optimizing promotion programs through Got to B and C. And the fourth was understanding our tax dollars that are spent at North Carolina institutions that could be all grown here in North Carolina.
Right, and one of the things that we realized to finish up our project, we need to have this data made available and collected and put in a format that all of our folks can use all the way up and down the value chain. That's our big takeaway. We need more information.